All right, for our last installment for Google Classroom, we're going to take a look at practice sets and add-ons. Add-ons allows close integration between third-party education programs like Edpuzzle and Pear Deck, allowing them to work directly inside of Google Classroom. With practice sets, teachers can easily take their own teaching content and whether they type it in directly or import it from a PDF, and can transform it into interactive practice assignments, practice activities that can use built in auto grading that gives students constructive feedback in real time as they answer a question and lets them know how they're doing. The practice sets help teachers track which concepts need more instruction time, who could use extra support, how much time they spent doing these activities, and give the teachers quick performance insights to shape future lesson plans. On the student side, when students are struggling to solve a problem or to answer a question, practice sets gives them hints through visual explainers and videos, ones that the teachers can post, and also ones that you can allow Google Classroom to generate automatically through the magic of AI. When students are working on these practice sets, they can answer correct. The practice set will celebrate their success, give them a little graphic animation, let them know they're doing really well. Practice sets is really a cool thing. So let's start taking a look at practice sets and add-ons. Let's start with practice sets. You'll notice if you're in your Google Classroom, right, in the Google Classroom, on the left-hand side of the page, you will see where there is now a practice sets section. Click on that to go to your saved practice sets or to create a new one. You'll see I already have some made, but we're going to create a new one for this little lesson. You can also see ones that you've thrown away as you don't need anymore. All right, all contained here in your Google Classroom. So hit create. And the first thing I'm going to want to do, of course, is to name my practice set. So I can go back and reuse this with different classes, or when I'll show you share this with other teachers, they know exactly what kind of practice they're looking at. I can type in my questions. There's also choices here for your answers, whether short answer, paragraph, longer answers, multiple choice, or multiple select. And you'll notice three of those four choices, everything except a full paragraph, you can have the program sort of assess or grade automatically. Um, you'll notice as I start typing in a question, some different sort of recommendations for resources pop up. The built-in Google AI is sort of automatically suggesting based on what I've typed in, but if and I can use or disuse anyone I don't want, but I can also add my own little hints, typing in hints that a student would get when they're trying to answer the question, or I can add my own video from YouTube if I have one that I know will explain this concept really well in just a minute or so. I can add those. I continue to add new questions. There's an option at the bottom of the screen to add a new question, to add a little bit of text if you want to have like a dividing section between, say, like math questions and other types of questions or whatever. Speaking of math, there is a math keyboard built in. So if you need to easily be able to insert things like fractions, right, you can use this built-in math keyboard to type in fractions and other math equations very easily. All right, so here I'm typing out the question that I want the student to have some practice with. Here I'm going to choose multiple choice, and I'm going to type out my answer choices. I can move those answer choices around, right, because I don't want my first answer choice to always be the correct one. Right, so I can move those around a little bit. And I can see where there are some skills that are being suggested to me based on what I've typed. And I can add or remove those suggestions as I want. If I have a PDF, I can import questions directly from a PDF. And this is the cool part. Instead of importing like the entire PDF, I can drag little boxes over exactly what part of the PDF I want turned into part of my practice assignments, and it'll only take those little blocks that I've told it to import from the PDF into the practice sets. So here you see I am selecting a couple different math questions here. And I'm going to import these into my practice set. And you will see just that section I've cut out now appears as a question, and I can add my answer choices. I can add those skills and everything if I want the students to have extra help, a little extra assistance and review as they're answering these questions. Really, really useful part of this program to be able to take stuff from a PDF and add it to this digital assignment. Notice I can also add a new question or text or import from a PDF by clicking the plus button on the right-hand side next to a question that's already typed in if I want to insert a new question or text between two questions that I've already made. Right, just here I am adding some text, right, just to divide like the math section from the science section of these practices. Right, if you had different sections, adding a little bit of title between them might be helpful. I can go into my settings and change some settings here. Right, if I want to allow equivalence, right, 4.5 or 4.5 will both count as correct. I can check that. If I don't care about capitalization, right, I can check that. If Mercury with a lowercase m will count the same as Mercury with an uppercase m. I just want to ignore punctuation. So I have some setting choices. You'll see the little button that says extra help there on the right-hand side. That lets me see all of the videos and hints and things that I have in this entire practice set, right, for all the questions. But I can also look at just the individual question itself to see the extra help or hint that's available for that specific question, right? That button on the right-hand side is to show all of them. All right, I can share my practice set and send it to another teacher so they can use it in their class if I want to. And I can even click the try as student so I can make sure that my practice set looks for the students how I want it to look. Right, so here I am. I can click on the extra help to see all of the extra help for this assignment, or I can click on the little light bulb next to a question, and it gives me the assistance just for that particular question. On the left-hand side, you can see what question I'm currently on and whether I've gotten it right or wrong. There's my little feedback. I have the little diamonds in a chest there. Notice the cool thing, too, is I can see what I've answered already, what I still need to answer. I can skip around to different questions by clicking there on the left-hand side. And if you notice, there's a little box where I can choose to write with a pencil or write with a pen, or type in my answers. And you'll notice that for every answer, for every question, there is the option to show your work, right? Write in so the teacher can kind of see the thought process of the student. And since we have a touch screen, that works really, really well. For short answer questions, the student can even write in their answer, like handwrite in the answer, or they can type in the answer using their touch screen and their finger, or a touch screen and a stylus. Right, here I am, right? And instead of typing in the answer here, I'm going to write the answer on my touch screen, right? And then I can check and see if I'm right. And look, I get a nice little bit of feedback telling me, hey, I did a great job. Right, so on the student side, right, a lot of choice here between typing and writing, being able to show your work. And notice when I get something wrong as a student, it doesn't just like mark it wrong. It lets me try it again. Right, this isn't really a graded sort of activity the same way a quiz or a test would be. It's just to provide extra help for the student in whatever they're practicing with, and seeing your grade go low really kind of gives you the idea that, like, well, I don't even want to try anymore. So the practice set really avoids giving students a grade. Now that I have a practice set made, when I go to create an assignment and I click on practice sets, I can then choose which set to add to this activity. Here I'm going to add the sample practice set. One last chance to look at it, make sure it's okay. And then I can hit the attach button in the upper right-hand corner. And this now becomes part of my Google Classroom assignment, right? I can add a title, directions, and that sort of thing. Now let's see a practice set as a student, right? I'm a student logged into my Google Classroom. Here's the assignment, right? I can see the practice set under my work on the right-hand side. I click it. practice set opens up, right? If I come to a question, right, I can scroll through. If I come to a question I'm not sure, I can click the little extra help button if I want to. Here's all of the all the questions. But here, if I want assistance on just one, I can click on the little light bulb. Notice I'm writing in my answer with freehand versus typing it, so it's a great way to get the kids practicing their handwriting. Click on that light bulb. There it is, my extra little help on equations, or sorry, on fractions and decimals. So as I'm working through as a student, I have all of these tools available to help me. I can click and write and show my work so that I can sort of work through and think through the problem. And later on, my teacher will be able to see the same sort of thought process when they review my work on the teacher side of things, right? So I can do that writing. I've got, of course, as we looked at already, the extra assistance and extra help if I've added that to this particular question. Remember, not every question has to have extra help or a hint available, but you have that option as the teacher to add those or to let Google add them automatically, whatever you like. Right, so here I go. I've answered my questions, and I can see I'm keeping track of what I've got wrong, what I've got right, and how many I still have left to go. And when I've finished, yay, confetti party. And then I turn in my assignment to my teacher, letting them know that everything is done, and they can now look over the practice test and sort of get an idea of how I'm doing. So let's go back to that teacher view to check some results. All right, I'm going to click Review Work in my teacher Google Classroom, and that'll allow me to see my practice set. I can click on the Insights at the top if I have enough questions from enough students. It'll give me some ideas as to who's having trouble where and what things we need to sort of address and go back over. I don't really have any insights here because it's just a sample with 2 made-up students that are really just me. But I can click and see an individual student's work. So here, like I'm looking at Ed Tech, right? So I can look at all of Ed's questions and answers. I can even see how many times he attempted a question before getting it right. So I can look at how an individual student does, or I can click on an individual question and see across the board how students did on question number 2 or question number 3. Right, so I have the ability to look at an individual student or an individual question in addition to looking at that left-hand panel for class insights and how the class did as a whole. So that's practice sets in a nutshell, and I'm happy to go over it more with you guys individually if you want. Let's take a second now to look at add-ons. This will not take as long. Like I said before, add-ons is just a way to help more fully integrate third-party programs like Kahoot or Google Arts and Culture, Edpuzzle, things like that, and incorporate them more fully in Google Classroom so you're not having to go to multiple websites. Everything stays included in one space inside of Google Classroom. So here, for example, right, I'm going to pick an Edpuzzle activity. Now, of course, I already have to be using Edpuzzle or CK through 12 or any of these add-ons that are located here in the add-on section of your assignments in Google Classroom. So if you're not already using Edpuzzle, you kind of this isn't going to be very useful for you. You already have to have been using these programs. But for me, all right, and for a teacher that has been using some of these add-on programs individually, I can now incorporate them right inside of Google Classroom. So here, right, I can see that I can preview before I post it, right? I'm already logged into my Edpuzzle account as the teacher. So I'm definitely sure now that I want this assignment to go out to my kids, so I'm going to hit Assign. I have a couple options I can choose depending on the program you're using. You have a different set of options. So I make sure everything's okay. I'll hit the Assign button. It now becomes part of my classroom assignment. And when the students go to click on this, they won't be taken to a totally separate website. A window will open inside of Google Classroom and let them work on their Edpuzzle or their Kahoot or whatever without having to then like open up a new tab and get lost where they are. It makes getting back to Google Classroom a lot easier for the student if everything is sort of contained right inside. So here I am, like here's another one, I'm adding Kahoot. to this one. And again, you have to already be using these programs and have an account set up with them in order to log in and start using them here inside of Google Classroom with the add-ons feature. All right, I made everything, make sure everything is ship shape. Right, once I add this add-on assignment, here I'm adding Pear Deck, which one of my favorite programs ever. And then let's take a look at what it looks like for a student. Right, so as a student, here I am in my assignment. There I see I have an Ed puzzle attached. When I click on it, notice a new tab didn't open. I'm still inside Google Classroom, but my Ed puzzle video and the questions that will pop up as I'm watching this video, right? All of that stuff is maintained inside of Google Classroom, right? And you can even see like the turn it in button on the upper right hand side. Right, you'll notice I only have there's only the Google Classroom tab open at the top of my browser. Right, so the add-on is really useful for making sure that all of the work you're doing stays inside of the Google Classroom page, right? Making it so you don't have to go to a lot of separate websites. All right, well, that's really it for practice sets and add-ons. Again, if you want to go over this more on one-to-one or in a small group, please just let me know. We can get together and go over this and do some work together to get you guys comfortable with practice sets and add-ons. Thanks for watching. See you later.